Yo, can I get a scum cheers in the chat for 20,000 subscribers? Woo! Mm-hmm. And another milestone that this channel crossed that I'm not sure is as obvious is we've actually just hit 2 million total views, which is awesome because 1 million wasn't that long ago. So huge thank you to everybody who supported this channel. Tonight, we're going to be ranking all 50 synthesizers I've owned. Really, it's more like 45 I've owned plus a few that I've borrowed, right, from a couple of friends. So shout outs to Swords and Synthesizers. And what we're going to do is normally on this channel, I like to have a very measured discussion about price versus features. But tonight, we're just talking about what are my actual favorite synthesizers, because not every synthesizer that I love, you know, is on paper that great. A good example of this is like the Polivoks. I love that synthesizer. It sounds incredible to me. But even when we shot it out against the Korg MS-20, I recognized, like, yeah, the MS-20 sounds better objectively, but I prefer the sound of the Polivoks. So to celebrate 20,000 subscribers, I thought it would be fun to do a stupid little tier list. And it's just my opinion of where I would rank all of these synthesizers. But a lot of you guys have been coming on the journey with me, shooting out these synthesizers for years now. So I feel like it's a lot of fun. And if you're watching live, you can follow along with these votes too. And we'll be able to compare, you know, what's my personal votes versus what's like the average vote that everybody put in. So welcome everybody. If you're new here, welcome to the party. And we're going to start with an incredibly controversial synth. Satan decided, so all of these synths are randomized, what order we do them in, and Satan decided the Modal 002 was going to be the first synth that we checked out tonight. So the 002 is a lot of people upset at Modal for going out of business and saying they've always kind of had bad customer support after Polymatics left the company. And Polymatics really the queen who gave us the 002. And it is an incredible synthesizer. I don't think there's any getting around that. Not everybody loves the sound. I've noticed in the comments, the 002 has been easily probably the most divisive synth that I've had. I appreciate you very much, Derek. So they're not out of business. I actually emailed them this past week discussing trying to repair a Modal 008 that I recently got my hands on, but it's fucked up. And they're not servicing old Modal synths anymore. So Adapt Manipulate, welcome, my friend. So where am I going to vote for this? Well, we got the Hall of Fame for the absolute best synths, Spectacular for great synthesizers that aren't quite in that upper echelon scum tier, S tier, as 40 Thieves says. This third tier, keep coming back to. These are the synths I go to time and time again. They're great synthesizers, but maybe something holds them back from being spectacular or in the Hall of Fame. Then we got hot workhorses. This is my stupid way of saying it's like a good synth, maybe not, you know, an incredible synth, but a good synth. Then we got fun but flawed. This is where, you know, it's a synth that I like, I probably would keep, but has some flaws to it or something that stops it from being like an easy synth to go for. I see some people put in some votes for fun but flawed, Hall of Fame. So that's going to be fun. Deeply mid, this is like kind of the first category of like, okay, this synth is just kind of, it is what it is. And then not for me are synths that I would recommend, you know, which that doesn't mean it's not the right synth for you, by the way. This is going to be my opinion. So I've probably spoken enough. We have to make a decision on the 002. It's not in the Hall of Fame for me. It's a great synth. It's a very special synth. It could be spectacular. I think it's in keep coming back to. The reason being is it is kind of simple and it doesn't have any FM anything in it. So it doesn't have cross mod, doesn't have filter FM. It has a very great sequencer and animator, which is a way to get a lot of modulation in the sound. But it's a little menu divey for me, that part of it, which stops it from being in that spectacular, but I think it's above the hot workhorses section. So I'm going to vote keep coming back. Let's see. There it is. So we could just see it's here. Now we have the Roland Super JX. And again, this is just random, the order. So I want to know what you guys think about all of these synths as we're going. Let's get another scum cheers in the chat. I'm drinking the Golden Monkey tonight. So if you haven't found the path, now's the time. I appreciate each and every one of you guys so much. Thank you for making this channel what it is. Cheers, guys. Twin Cities, the link is the very first line in the description. So go ahead and pull up the tier list and you can vote along with me. So, Super JX, fun but flawed? I think it's definitely a hot workhorse at least. I think it's a hot... I think it's a... It doesn't have PWM. Love the Golden Monkey. Achromatic. How are you doing, my friend? Ooh, this is tough. It really feels like a workhorse. You know, like that's what it is. Also, I'm going to be ranking these. You know, I've got a retroactive PG. I don't know if you guys can see this down here for my JX, the MPG-8. So that factors into my decision. On its own, it would definitely be in the hot workhorses or fun but flawed. It could be... I'm going to have to put it in hot workhorses. It's going and keep coming back to. It's a great... Billy, the 12 voices, you've got to give it something for that. Let me know if you've got it, Mom. I appreciate it, Jess Kennedy. Thank you so much. Ricky, welcome. So, we're going to go keep coming back to. I might change my mind about that. We've got the K5000S next. Okay, that feels like a very easy, fun, but flawed, right? For me, it's an incredible synthesizer, but man, is it a synth that feels like just locked behind that interface. I know there's some sickos out there who can sit down and program it. I had to sell it just out of like, you know what, someone else should get this synth. But having said that, if it was my only digital synthesizer, I would put the time in to learn it, and I bet you would be rewarded for that time more than any other synthesizer. This feels like the perfect fun but flawed. Nothing wrong with that. Twin Cities is perfectly, that's what that skip button's for. Let's see. Don't panic, Mom. We have the Yamaha EX5, which was lent to me by Togethers. The artist Togethers lent me his EX5. Oof. So this is where it's going to get tough. And anytime we talk about virtual analog, if I could get some scum sick in the chat, that would be awesome. The EX5 is an incredibly cool synth too. In a lot of ways, it surpasses the SY99, which I prefer. But for me, I think I got to put it in the... This is, again, personal opinion here, right? So for me in my studio too, I'm going to say this real quick. There's two valid ways to think about synthesizers. One is, if you had to buy like one synth, what would you get that's like covers all your bases? And then there's freaks like me who have way too many synthesizers. So I have a tendency to not want a synth that can do everything, because those synths tend to be a little vanilla. They're very balanced. They're very, you know, they can do everything, but they don't do anything incredibly. They're not the best in the world at anything. I'm kind of more like into characterful weirdo synths sometimes. So this might be a synth that's great for someone who wants virtually like every type of digital synthesis. But for me, it's our first deeply mid synth. I've got to keep going. We're going to screw up a lot of them. It's okay. Aquatic, this is all for fun. Yeah, the stream with the tribute to David Lynch, definitely worth going back and checking out with the JX10 and David Lynch. That was such a fun stream. We have the Alpha Juno. The photo is of an Alpha Juno 1, but I'm counting my Alpha Juno 2 plus the retroactive programmer. This is, you know, for me, this is the definition of a hot workhorse. Ain't nothing wrong with the Juno. Nothing that would put it in the fun but flawed category, especially with the programmer. But, you know, does it elevate above some of these other synths that have multiple oscillators per voice and everything. Synth mode, I don't know if we can. I don't know if there's any going back, unfortunately. So I'm just going to say to everybody, like, do your best to... It's all for fun. That's the only thing I could say. Life and Fragments, welcome. Life and Fragments asked about the Korg Prologue. You know what's funny is I think I forgot to put the Prologue in this this list, so that sucks actually. What do I think about the Prologue? I think it's great. It would kind of fit into what I just said if you were here a second ago about like a very neutral synth in the sense of it can do pads and bass and leads. It's very versatile, but overall it doesn't have that kind of character that stands out to me. So if you wanted to buy like one synth, it's sick because it's a hybrid and an analog synthesizer. You can use it completely analog, or you can use that awesome oscillator, digital oscillator, and run it through the analog filter. So it's really powerful in that sense, but it wasn't for me. Hopefully that is quick enough. I think the Alpha Juno is very good, Vulture Mom, but it's not my favorite. It's probably my favorite to recommend to people. So it's a hot workhorse. It's my favorite for the price, for sure. We have the Korg DSS-1, first sampler of the list. I don't have the Akai S900 on this list, although I own one. We haven't done a stream on it yet. And I want to get it set up with my AX60 before I really give that one a shot. It's okay to put the Wavestation in the Hall of Fame. DSS-1 is great. It might be a hot workhorse for me. It might be fun but flawed in the sense that it's just so locked behind that interface. I think it's in the fun but flawed for me. I know that's painful. The one major issue with doing a stream like this is if like the DSS-1's your favorite, like I don't want you to hate me. It's just you know, I'm trying to keep it also so that one category isn't overflowing. So we'll see how things go. I don't know if I can move them now. If I can, no, see, I can't. Like, I was hoping I could drag, like, re-go for it. Waldorf Blofeld, also from Togethers. Yeah, Jerome's right. Not fun to program. If you have the patience, it's going to be the case for a lot of these synths. Even synths that are in the fun but flawed, deeply mid categories, I honestly still think are incredible synthesizers and samplers for someone out there, just maybe not me, you know. Blofeld is a hot workhorse. It's a little flawed with the layout because it's just, but it's all there. Like you can do it because you have enough knobs, whereas on the DSS-1 you don't. So I think it's a hot workhorse, but it's not something I had to have in the studio. So I'm kind of keeping that upper 3 tier for probably synths that I can't imagine getting rid of. Moog Source. Speaking of synths I've gotten rid of. Moog Source is great. It's a great synth. It's a mini Moog under the hood. The membrane panel's not as bad as people make it out to be. I think it might be in the hot workhorses section too. It might be in the fun but flawed. I think it's in the fun but flawed because of the interface. Because I think if I had had a Prodigy, it would be harder to sell just because it would be a little more immediate. The interface is not bad, but it does, you mostly just pull up presets on it, unfortunately, you know? It is one of the best looking synths though, I agree. Yeah, you've got a lot of good ones, Derek. That's a pretty good, like Erebus, Hydrasynth, Wavestate, Microfreak. That's like a good setup. I'm going to throw it in fun but flawed. It feels harsh, but you know, some things got to go in there. We've got the Korg ARP Odyssey on loan from me from my friend Rob, aka Swords of Synthesizers. Can I get a cheers for Rob? He's been hooking it up with the synthesizers recently. So cheers to you. You've added a lot to this channel. So thank you very much, my friend. Again, this might be... It's hard to put it in like deeply mid or something. It was actually pretty badass. it's a hot workhorse for me. I don't have to have one in the studio, but it's good. It's a good, like, so if I could, probes, yes, I've got 1 or 2 samplers in the list. Jess Kennedy, 100%. The Alpha Juno would be lower if it didn't have the programmer. I'm going to put this one in hot workhorse. Oh, no. Okay, SX240. I think some of y'all... Derek, that is both an honor and terrifies me. Kawai SX240. I would go all the way. Like a year or two ago, I probably would have put it in hot workhorses as far as like a very good workhorse synth. Figuring out the stupid fact that it has dual mode, so it works like a Jupiter 8, but you have a sub oscillator as well. An incredible VP330 sort of chorus. Like it's kind of worth it just as a string machine, and that's only, you know, the chorus like holds it back a little in that way, but it's also super unique. I think it's the first Hall of Famer. It's just something special about that synth. And when I compare it to any of the other DCOs, it is in its own league for that. It doesn't have everything the Matrix 6 can do, but it's very good. This is going to be hard. So we got the JX3P with the, what is it? I think it's PG2K by Retroactive. I really like this synth. I really like this one. It's up there with where I would put the Polysix, but I think it's a keep coming back to. I think that's where I'm going to put it. I think it's around the JX10. It's a little more immediate and fun to program, but it's not as powerful because it doesn't have as many voices, velocity, aftertouch, so on and so forth. So with that in mind, I think I can put it in. I keep coming back to the JX3P. It just sounds so good. Aha! Our first modern synthesizer, the Donner B1. Yeah, I think and again, that's what's crazy about this synth list is we're going to be talking about some incredible instruments that professionals have made music with, and we're going to put it in like deeply mid, just because, you know, it's hard. I'm going to try to be as brutal on these as I can, just so that everything doesn't go, you know, into spectacular, right? Donner B1, first synthesizer that was sent to me by a synth company, so I appreciate Donner for that. It's a 303. It's very good for 303. Like if you want a 303 and you don't want to go Eurorack, I really can't imagine why you would get anything other than this. I think it's a much better build quality than a Behringer product, in my opinion. Everything about it was really good. The drum machine afterwards, you know, not my thing. So one thing is, it could go in not for me because it's not something I'm going to use because I'm not like a big 303 guy. But I think that's a little cruel, because it doesn't even feel like it. This one's really hard to rank against everything else because it's not trying to be any of the other synths. I think it has to go in deeply mid just because that's all it is. It's a 303. But I say that with the you know, with the caveat that it's really my recommendation for 303 sounds. Built-in distortion and delay sounds great. So yeah, that's a great example. 40 Thieves. The Da 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 song was made with a VL1, but that's at this bottom tier. Vincent Presley, how's it going, my friend? Monopoly, SQ8 are Hall of Famers for me. I bet they're probably up there for me too, for sure. So what do we have? We have the Wavestation. Ooh, this one's tough. This is hard to split, you know, because to be honest, like, I will never fucking program this, but ever since I heard the Donkey Kong Country soundtrack and that beautiful song Aquatic Ambiance, which samples and basically turned the Super Nintendo into a Wavestation. It's like in my heart. I do think these are the best presets of all time. I know a lot of us scum snobs, you know, we're not preset guys, but if there's ever a synth that has just like incredible presets, it's the Wavestation. Fun but flawed? Yeah, it's going in fun but flawed. If we're being honest, it's just like, how could I rank it higher than a lot of the other synths we're going to talk about? Considering I basically use it as a really cool sounding rompler. That's what I use it for. And I think everybody does. We'll put it there for now. The worst ranking synth on the legendary synthesizer list, the Casio HT6000. Here's the thing. Lonnie, welcome. Could get one $75. Holy shit. That's crazy. They're like $3,000 now. If you aren't familiar with the HT6000, unlike Casio's earlier CZ line, this is actually a hybrid synthesizer, and it's the only HD synth that has a filter per voice. So it's either 6 or 8 voices, and it has an analog filter on each voice, and it has 4 oscillators per voice. So, you know, on paper, it's kind of like a Prophet VS from Casio. In practice, it's not. In practice, but here's the thing. Compared to like another synth I know is going to be on this list, I still think it sounds interesting. Like, it's completely different sounding than everything else. I think the analog filter's not great. It's probably the best example of like, just because a filter is analog does not mean it's going to be a great filter. Lex Dynamic, welcome. So I'm going to have to go with not for me for the HD6000, with the caveat that, you know, if I only had one hardware synth and there was the HT6000, I'm sure that you or I could make really good music with this. It's a cool synth. It's just like things like, if you don't have batteries in it, its memory wipes every time you turn it off. Like, that's, I just can't. Oh, Adapt has one. It's trash-tastic. That's a great phrase for it. So we've got the Jupiter 4. So this is the only synthesizer on this list that I haven't done a video on. And I should have done the Korg Prologue. I don't know how the Korg Prologue got left off the list, unless it is here somewhere. The Jupiter 4, I had it in the studio for like 2-3 days, and it had some problems, so I sent it back to the seller. But I had enough time with it to, you know, kind of get a feel for it. And the biggest problem I had with it is it sounded very similar to the Polysix to me. The nature of the square wave oscillators. So many oscillators are a sawtooth wave that are then wave shaped to the other forms. The Jupiter 4 is a square wave shaped to the other forms. And not that that really matters, but everything kind of sounds like a square wave on the Jupiter 4. And everything just kind of sounds like I Just Can't Get Enough by Depeche Mode to me on the synth. I can't help it. I think it's great. The filter, of course, legendary. It's very hard to rank this one. But 4 voices, it's going in, I hate to, this is controversial, but it's in the fun but flawed. I just think the resonance, it loses everything. I think the Juno 6 is a better buy than the Jupiter 4, honestly. But I understand for some people it's an instant Hall of Fame, like for Jerome. CX5M would be a really fun one to check out at some point. I know David Wise used that. I just can't get enough of it. Pliskin, welcome. How's it going, my friend? That's the thing. 40 Thieves, kind of me too. Like, that song just kind of grates on me. I like a lot of Vince Clarke's later music, but that one just gets to me. So next up we have the Proteus 2500. It's just a bigger version of the 2000. This is going, God, it should be really high up, but I think because, okay, it's so tough. I haven't spent enough time with it. I like my other Proteus better because it feels more vintage. It's giving me what I want. I'm putting it in deeply mid with the major caveat that it's probably the greatest Rompler of all time. I'm going to try to stop caveating everything, but it's just hard because honestly, I think compared to a lot of people, I've been very fortunate with the synths that have come into the studio. So it's going in deeply mid, but I probably regret that. Korg Poly 800 is, I mean, at like $250 right now. It's one of the best analog synths, bang for your buck, you can possibly buy, even considering Behringer, right? That's so wild to me that it's even possible. Vincent agrees with me. Vincent and I have similar tastes. You know, you get one of those things like with all the different synth tubers, we all have our opinions, and some people are wrong, but Vincent and I are usually right. That's how I would describe it. Yeah, absolutely, Dub. I have a massive keyboard bias. I don't really like hooking up rack mount synths. It's probably just that. But again, I have to put some things in deeply mid because fun but flawed workhorses and keep coming back to is getting really full already. Poly 800 cannot quite be in the same tier as an Alpha Juno. If I'm being objective, it should go in deeply mid. But the caveat being that it's actually fucking awesome for certain types of sounds. Like, because it's going in deeply mid does not mean that you shouldn't get one, especially at $250 or even $350, $400, anything like that. Me putting the Poly 800 in deeply mid is not going to shake the universe the way Espen Croft can. That's for sure. So we got to keep going or else we'll never get through this list. We're only at what? 7, 12, 16. We got to keep going. U20. Easy, not for me. Shitty fucking Rompler. Polivoks. Does it deserve Hall of Fame? Or should it be spectacular? I think it's Hall of Fame, baby. This is my list. I always go to the Polivoks when I need any sort of industrial bass line. I kind of don't use it for anything else. I wouldn't really use it for a lead or anything, but like when it comes to that EBM bassline thing, if I don't want to go with digital, it's going to be the Polivoks. The Russian Menace. Just a fucking nothing sounds like a Polivoks. I love this synthesizer. So, Dorian, welcome. How's it going? Let's see. We've got so many people here. Todd, welcome. JP8, the JP8000, baby. Can I get some scum? Can I get some scum sick in the chat, baby? Our first virtual analog. It should go in hot workhorse, but it's my recent dive into virtual analogs has led me to feel that the JP8000 might have gotten a little roughed up on this channel. I think it might be the best of its era. You know, for 96, it was good virtual analog. Yeah, Hans is a big Polivoks guy too. Deeply mid? I didn't need it. Yeah, I think it's deeply mid. For me. Whoa. Oh shit. Yamaha CS70M, you know. Synthesizer sold for $19,000 this year. Right? Someone paid $19,000 for a CS70M. Probably watched my video on it. Here's the CS70M tonally, like if you're just talking about the filter, it's a CS80 filter, right? It's jaw-dropping. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. Mine has sloppy envelopes. You'll notice it's not there currently. I'm having my boy Ramiro from Severed Machines actually look into the possibility of adding some mods to it to make it closer to a CS80 and calibrating those envelopes. It can't go into the Hall of Fame, even though it's got Hall of Fame tone. It really does, but there's some things about it that, and especially the fact that it can't do a decent vibrato because of that digital stepping. The lowest value is already too much when you route the either of the two LFOs, because you have two LFOs per voice, to even one oscillator. It's just too much. I can't put it in the Hall of Fame for that. So it's our first spectacular synth. It's very expensive. You know, maybe if it wasn't so expensive, I'd put it in the Hall of Fame, but considering how expensive it is, we've got the Korg M1. Yashnu, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yeah, Poly 800, 4 voices, but for what it is, it's definitely, to me, it's good, Jess. You can make it work. But Jerome, I mean, I think it's got its own magic. It's aggressive. There's some things the CS70M can do that the 80 can't, to where I'm like, I don't even know which I would, if I, just on sound and like what it can do, but there's certain things that it should have been able to do that it doesn't have. Freddie Mercury, welcome. What's up, Tone Pusher? Korg M1. It's not going to score great, despite the fact that it is iconic. My boy Brando, shout outs to Brando, my boss, my friend, old friend of mine, lends me an M1 that was used by the Bee Gees. Story goes that they finished their tour in Florida like a lot of bands did, and they were like, he was the manager at the biggest venue down in this county, or the county south of me, Revolution Live, and they were like, here, just keep the synths. We don't want them. We're flying back. You know, like, and so they just left their M1s, and it ended up in the studio for a bit. It's, of course, for what it is, it's great. It's got to go in deeply mid. Just because if you're not using the sounds that are super famous, it's just not a synth that you would want to, you know, fuck with. Yeah, the house piano, organ 2 bass line, incredible. You know, I like the M1 too. I did a whole sample pack on the digital pads it can do are really great, but you know, yeah, and Staying Alive, they had it for that tour. They had it on like way too late. TS10 by Ensoniq is rough because it's incredible, but I haven't had the time to dedicate what it deserves. And so I can't tell you it's quite like, let's say, JD800 or D50 tier. I think it's going in fun but flawed. God, this is getting real fucked up real fast. Is it a hot workhorse? It's good. It's a good synth. I'm going to put it in hot workhorses. It's got polyphonic aftertouch. I think that's going to be the thing that jumps it up for me. I think a TS12 might go in the fun but flawed. We'll put it in hot workhorses. I'm trying to keep it. Ooh, SQ80, baby. SQ80 is one of the coolest synths ever. Vincent said it's instant Hall of Fame. There's really not anything keeping it out of the Hall of Fame for me. Yeah, the keyboard's clacky. Yeah, the samples in it are real crunchy, real low fidelity. You know, it's tough. It's tough. Hall of Fame legend. I do think it's the ultimate Ensoniq. I know that Dubstation kept the ESQ1 over it, preferred the sound. So there's that. If there was one synth that deserves it, it is the SQ80. It's going in spectacular for me. It's a spectacular synth. Hall of Fame, I'm kind of holding back. I'm going to try to keep it to like 5 cents or less. We have the Roland SH2. I would put this up there with the Polivoks in terms of like, if the Polivoks is my go-to for bass lines, the SH2 is just incredible on leads. Plus it can do bass lines, but it's got this like, it's the brightest sounding 70s oscillator filter combo. It's so good. Yeah, Spectacular Tone Busher says that. Same thing with Aquatic. Ingolf, welcome. Yeah, ESQ1's really good. But yeah, SH2 is great. I do think the SQ80 is deserves its place above the TS. The TS maybe should have gone in Fun But Flawed. But the SH2 it's spectacular. It's a mono synth. I'm gonna put it in spectacular. It's going in spectacular. It's just okay. The fucking Fender Chroma Polaris. The SH2 is just it's so special sounding, and I was hoping with the Jupiter 4 that I was going to get a polyphonic SH2, and it's not. It doesn't sound like that. So it's this weird thing where if you love the sound of the SH2, but you want a polyphonic version, you're fucked. Like there's no version of a Roland synth that sounds like a polyphonic SH2. You just have to like go SH2, or the next closest thing is like a Jupiter 6, but that has, in terms of price, like that's like the closest you're gonna get, and it's still, but it's got such a different feel because the SH2 has a different filter. It's pre-IR 3109. It's more like the modular stuff. Infundibula, it is a great mono synth. It really is, for leads especially. Chroma Polaris, easy Hall of Fame. It's a Vulture Culture Hall of Fame, baby. That little bad boy right there is the Matrix 12 oscillator and filters, but it rips. You know, like when you max out the VCA on the Matrix 12, as far as I'm aware, it's still very clean. You know, it's that Oberheim, you know, it's got the growl, but it's not like the Fender Chroma Polaris is dirty. It's a Matrix 12 without the bells and whistles, but on steroids. Like the fact that it's that VCA gain is ripping at 50%. It's so over the top. It almost feels like it was a mistake. But I think that's just because they were going for that sort of ARP. They wanted to make a polyphonic ARP Odyssey. Yes, H2 has the early JP4, but most JP4s have the IR 3109. So we've arrived at the Akai AX60. So it's a very interesting synth. Curtis 3394 synth on a chip. So one oscillator, not two. Filter, amplifier per voice. Really kind of developed by Doug Curtis for the sequential 6-track. So I haven't done a shootout between the 6-track and the AX60, but my guess would be that they would sound pretty similar. So I kind of think of it as being like almost my sequential 6-track. You can run the S900 or what is it, the S216? What's the name of the first Akai sampler? Someone in the chat will remember for me. The filter FM on this is ripping. It's knob per function. It's a voltage controlled oscillator as opposed to a DCO. It should score really high. What I've noticed about the X60 is until I get it hooked up with that sampler, which I'm having the sampler repaired right now by Ramiro at Severed Machines. S612, that's what I'm looking for. Thank you guys. I think I need to review it when I get there, because being able to run that sampler through it might be the coolest thing ever. But if you just talk about the synth on its own, it has to get ranked kind of lower than most of the other ones that we've talked about. I think it's going I think it earns its place in the hot workhorses just because of its extreme filter FM. Again, my preference is for synths that do something a little different. No Synths filter FM and resonance is as crazy as the X60. They actually fucked it up. It's a mistake. It shouldn't have been, the resonance shouldn't have been that much. It's a historical fact that they fucked it up, but that's the sound. And, you know, the same is true of the Mini Moog. So I think it's going in hot workhorse or fun but flawed. A lot of people would put it in fun but flawed. For me, it's going to hot workhorse. Fuck it. Ooh, we're going back to the modern times. That's so very important, this comment. S612, X7000, S900, S950 all have that sampler 8-pin to the X60 and AX73. And the VX90, I want to say, is the other one, like the smaller one, which actually has 2 VCOs per voice. Emacs. We got a lot of cult of Emacs here. Ricky, welcome. Erica Synth Steampipe is incredible. It's a great synthesizer. It's also kind of limited. In my demo of it, I did like this industrial techno thing with it. And you can push it that far. However, if you also watch my live stream on it, you'll notice that I struggled to get it. It's just really great at what it does. It's the best sounding physical modeling synth. I can't put it in fun but flawed because there's nothing wrong with it. It does what it wants. It should go in hot workhorses. Is it a synth I keep coming back to? It's going in hot workhorses. We got to start putting more synths though in fun, but we got to get out of the hot workhorses category. So maybe I shouldn't have put the X60 there, but it is just where it is. Yeah, there's a big cult of Emacs. I'm hoping that the S900, I'm asking Ramiro to actually remove the anti-aliasing filter from it to try to get it to sound closer to an Emacs so then I can run it into the X60. We'll see though. Yeah, where is Carl for the Emacs love? It's going in workhorses. The JD 800. It's, you know, in a way it's the greatest in terms of like most programmable. You've got 59 sliders on it plus more stuff, buttons and shit, knobs. It's gorgeous. It's right up there. I think the thing that keeps it out of the Hall of Fame is the D50 sounds a little bit better to my ear. It's a little bit better. It's just, they just nailed it with the D50. Now, having said that, D50 does not have as much as what's going on in the JD800. You've got a lot more waveforms. A lot of the stuff that was kind of missing from the D50, you can't really do breathy stuff. Like if you want to do thought forms-esque music, it's not always possible with the D50. So in that way, the JD800 I think is spectacular. I think it's just not quite a Hall of Famer for me, but it is very, very good. And they're cheap right now. You can get them relatively cheap. Dubstation says, sounds great, but the sound design seems like it would be tough for me because you get through unusable sounds, so you get to sweet spots. For me, I agree with that, and then I would just add that there is many sweet spots along the way. But the problem for me was more like when I wanted to get a certain sound, it was elusive. I couldn't like take my idea to fruition always, because depending on like where one knob you wouldn't think is affecting the signal path is like the high pass filter is changing the tune. Like it's just, so anyways, JD800, spectacular synth. We've got the Kawai K4. I had to look for a second. I couldn't see there. Yeah, no. Timberwolf would be in the not for me category for sure. I can fix the fix this a little bit. Let's give this a little bit more. There we go. How are we doing on time? I think we're okay. We'll see. Dorian, that's correct, but there are differences. So not everything that works in a JD990 will work in a JD800. The biggest difference that I'm aware of is the ring modulator. Ring modulator in the D50 kind of sucked, so they left it out of the JD800. People were not happy about that, so they added it back into the 990. So anything that uses the ring modulator, won't work on the JD800. So I don't think the patches are intercompatible. Or you probably can load JD800 patches into the 990, but not the other way around. That would be my guess. Emphasis on the word guess. Yeah, $1,500 is a lot. Billy Bart, welcome. That might almost like move it down. Nah, it should be there, but it's a lot for what it is. It's got a sound, and I will say this, that compared to other physical modeling synths, it's not quite as flexible. It's good at what it does, though. K4 is fucking awesome. It's easily the most awesome synthesizer that no one seems to be into except for me. Is it Hall of Famer? In a weird way, yes, as far as like value. It is the ultimate value synth, in my opinion. It shouldn't be ranked as high as the Keep Coming Back to synths. It could go up there. Honestly, it could go and Keep Coming Back to. Because it's special. I do use it mostly as a rompler, but deity sounding bitch. We got Canada in the chat. Yo, shout out. I got some Pathfinder here. Why don't we have a little shot? I'm finding the path tonight. Can we give a shout out to all my fucking Canadians here? Canadians are like so nice and attractive and generous. they're like everything that is like Americans strive to be. So cheers to all my Canadians out there. I think K4 is kind of up in this tier of like, I make music with the K4. I use it as a rompler, but that's not bad. It's going and keep coming back to. Ahead of since like the Juno. It's ahead of since like the TS10 and the AX60, which are great. But for me, the K4, especially because of its price, you could get it for like $300, right? Incredible. We have the Juno 6, Roland Juno 6. This one's kind of tough because this is my newest synth. Patrick says, don't know if it's coming yet, but my Juno 6 has to be Hall of Fame. Favorite synth with the SH101. Fuck yeah, Canada. Yo, Jason, we got Jason here. How's it going? Poutine. So the Juno 6 got the magic, right? I can't deny that. I'm looking forward to shooting it out versus my Alpha Juno and the Korg Polysix, because those are like the two comparable things. I'd like to know, is the Alpha Juno a replacement for the Juno series? And is the Korg Polysix better than the Juno series? It would be hard to argue, though, with the interface is so fucking good. That and the SH2 are the best interfaces I've ever experienced. Having said that, it is so simple. Like, I don't think I've ever had a synth on this channel, aside from maybe like the Donner B1, where like halfway through the stream, I'm kind of like, well, okay, we did the bass, we did the lead, we did the PWM strings thing. What else is there to do? You know, we did Blinding Lights, we did Stranger Things, like, what is that, like 5 sounds? I might be a little harsh in that way, but again, this is my list. And of course, everybody, we've got the ranking here. I haven't been commenting on this because I haven't been trying to let this, you know, before people voted Hall of Fame, 6 Spectacular. Some people are going to fucking lose their shit. I don't... Oh, I would do the AX60 versus the Juno. I just think that the AX60, the lack of a sub oscillator, might hamper it. Keyword being might. The chorus on the X60 is very good. It feels like it should go in hot work choruses. I'm playing around with should it go but in fun but flawed for just being so simple. I don't think that's fair to put it down there. So it's got to go in hot workhorses, but I'm getting tired of putting synths in there. So I think I'm going to stop. There it goes. Some people are going to fucking lose their shit though. Cause I mean, for a lot of people, it is like the ultimate Hall of Fame synth behind like the Jupiter 8. Adapt, not a fan of the AX60. I get that. AX80 has 2 oscillators per voice, but they're digitally controlled. Different kind of resonance characteristic as well. Sari, welcome. No, you can vote right now. If you go click the first part in the description, it's got the link here so you can join. We've had 51 different people vote for a total of 719 so far. GX8P is it's got to be a hot workhorse. It's got to be. It could really hang out with the keep coming back to, but considering we already have 2 JXs, and for me, if I'm going to go for, I've got all 3 of the JXs. I kind of like the 3P has a different sound for sure than the other 2. And so I'll kind of go that way sometimes for the more vintage feel. And then the JX10 has the 12 voices. The 8P just is in between those. And I know I said no more hot workhorses, but it's not going in fun but flawed. It's great synth. So, I've always wanted to fuck around with an AX80. I'm always hoping they'll be, ooh, Monopoly. Oof. This is tough. I might be selling my Monopoly. I've got an offer for it. I might take it. It's awesome. I think for me, it's slightly... Jerome, you're right. It is simply... It's got a very sweet filter, the Juno 6. Hall of Fame. A lot of people voted Hall of Fame. It is the only legendary synthesizer that we've had so far in the legendary synthesizer test. I think it's great. It benefits, like, the one thing about the legendary synthesizer test I've noticed is, like, if a synth accomplishes what it set out to do, that's a good thing for the legendary synthesizer test. So it really does. It also might be the only synth ever to pass both the Deep Space Nine and the Training Day test. So if you're not familiar, like, it's easy enough for a beginner to get their head around, but it's also deep enough for a sound like a scum snob to keep coming back to and finding new sounds within it. Euro DJ, welcome. It could go Hall of Fame. I did use it in my most recent remix of Angel Spit, Jester's Privilege. It's like the money shot sound. It's just... I don't know. I just feel like I can't have 2 mono synths, I think, in the Hall of Fame. But it's going... I think, yeah, the SSM filters are great. It's going in spectacular simply because I've thought about it so much. The Hall of Fame has got to be for synths that I like. No question, it's going in the Hall of Fame. So, spectacular. We have my favorite virtual analog synth. Can I get some scum sick in the chat? And a scum cheers for everybody for making this 20,000 subscriber celebration fantastic. Thank you guys so much for being here. This is a lot of fun. We haven't gotten there yet, Twin Cities. You know what? I think I didn't put the DW8000 on this list either. Man, I fucked up. I don't know how I fucked that up so bad. Korg and the DW8000. So we're missing some synths here. We got 50 of them, but we're gonna miss the Prologue and the DW8000. So we'll tack them on at the end because they're both great. MS2000. Hall of Fame to Robert. I love the MS2000. I think it sounds really great. It's got 4 voices. That puts it at best in fun but flawed. That's where it's going. Fun but flawed. Where does that put that? Yeah, ahead of the JP8000 feels right. That feels correct. This list just keeps getting bigger. Let's see here. It's like all the way down there now. Can we get this a little? There we are. We got this silly ad right here. But what are we looking at? We're looking at... It should be above the JP8000 for me. That feels correct. There we go. I think that's going to be... Yeah, I like that. It's pretty good. Okay. The Ensoniq Mirage. This synth is great. It's not for me. Like, if we're not necessarily talking about the categories, but it's just not, like, the interface is so rough. To where it could almost go in the fun but flawed, I think that's where it belongs. I think it's where it belongs. Because deeply mid is for synths that don't sound incredible. It's a great sampler. There's a reason it's, what is it, a classic in the legendary synth test. 8000 over, I was in the minority when I pulled the chat in the MS2000 versus JP8000 stream. So I like the, but again, this is my list. So you guys can vote for what you guys want. It's going in the fun but flawed. The interface is just fucked. I think we all know that. The interface is rat fucked. So it's going in there. Korg MS20, it's a legendary synthesizer. There's no doubt about it. Mine, I've had a Ramiro clean out these fucking jacks so many times, and there's always still some corrosion in there. I bought this from Music Sound Tokyo, I think is the name. Don't buy from them. They really, I wouldn't recommend them. It's going, it deserves better than I'm going to rank it on this list. For the reasons, mine is going in fun but flawed. Let's just put it that way. For this one in particular, I'm just ranking mine. If you have a great one that works perfect, then it probably could be in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, for sure. Okay, I'll split the difference with y'all. It's going to be a hot workhorse. It doesn't have PWM. It's not. That's not what it's about. We'll give it hot workhorse. It deserves it. SY99. Ooh, this one's tough. You changed my mind, Bailey Bard. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Twin Cities, I don't know if it's prone to corrosion. I think it's just like, if you don't use the jacks ever, it probably sat around for like a decade or two. Yeah, I mean, I just think it's great. I mean, it sounds great, but I just don't use it that often. I did use it on Jester's Privilege. I don't know. SY99. Not quite in my workhorse category, but it is the greatest FM vintage synth. Probably fun but flawed. Clavia Nord Lead 2. It's gotta go in the it's my least favorite. So the thing is, because I've upset some people with my take on the Nord Lead 2. And some people said, well, he just plays the presets, whatever. And all I have to say is, obviously, when I do these streams, more goes into my time with these synthesizers than what you guys see live, right? And I think some people who've had some criticism for me recently haven't recognized that maybe only the hour and 45 minutes you see in the live stream isn't the only time I've interacted with the synth. I spent a good amount of time with the Nord Lead 2, and if it was the only synth I had, I would use it as a controller for REFX Vanguard. But if you didn't want to do that, it's great. The guy from Dissector responded to that video and said that's the only hardware synth we used on our albums. And I love Dissector. But the thing about electro-industrial, that like harsh EBM thing, is it's not really about the stuff that us scum snobs worry about, like filter sweetness and the difference between SSM and Curtis filters. It's about distortion, right? So if you're using the lead in that sense, I think it's probably a really fun, it was certainly a good layout, fun to interact with. It had its problems too. But the thing is that for me, of course it's going and not for me. It's not a synth for me. But I think it's a great synth for somebody else. Zeosynth, also on loan from my boy Rob. One more time, can I get some scum cheers in the chat for Rob, Swords and Synthesizers, for lending me these synthesizers for us to check out on this channel. I appreciate you, Rob. Thank you so much. Cheers, guys. I believe, Billy, that the later Nords probably sound better. Zeosynth was pretty good. It's also not for me. It's okay for it to go. It could go in deeply mid, but we don't have that many not for me's. I'm ready. It's okay to go in not for me. The Oberheim Matrix 12. That's a conspiracy theory, isn't it, Swords? Who thinks it's so? Someone voted deeply mid. Can we have a discussion about what you're thinking is going on there? Who voted deeply mid? I mean, you could argue that for the price, right? Like for the price of one of these things, 15 grand, you know, what are you getting for 15 grand? It had better be, you know, the best sounding synthesizer of all time. And, you know, for certain sounds, I think the Chroma Polaris can do a more aggressive kind of standard sound. It doesn't have like a notch filter built in or anything, but it can do a lot. But for me, of course, it's going to go in the Hall of Fame. I mean, what do you guys think? It's the greatest, right? Like it really is. Interface, you know, you could ding it for the interface. There's a way in which like the Polaris and the Polivoks and the Monopoly J8800 SH2, you know, they're all of these are kind of easier to use. It's kind of more on par with the SX240 in terms of using it. But as far as the sound, it's if you just care about like filters and stuff, maybe the 70M might have an edge. Something like a Jupiter 8 might have an edge. Some people love you know, a Prophet 5. But for me, it's Hall of Fame. Dubstation, the thing is, I love clove cigarettes. So the MS-2000 is easily the clove cigarette of virtual analog synths, for sure. Yeah, very similar to the Hydra synth. Ken said he's taken influence from the Matrix 12 creating the Hydra synth. So nothing wrong with that, Damien. Matrix 6, funny to have these back to back. The Matrix 6 is the definition of a hot workhorse. Like but I mean, it's probably better than that though. It's probably, I think it's in the keep coming back to. I mean, when we've shot it out against the JX3P and the JX10, it is better. So it might have to go into spectacular. I think it's only getting knocked back down into keep coming back to, and the fact that the programming is so locked behind, you know, parameter entry. I'm still working on that tutorial. I'm in the middle of a big project right now. It was hard enough to get the best vintage synths video out in a timely manner. Eternian, thank you so much. I really appreciate your support. $300 is good for an MS-2000. You can get two for that. Matrix 12, not quite spectacular because of the interface, but as far as like the DCO synths of the 80s, it's the best sounding. It outperforms the Super JX, but it doesn't have as many voices. And honestly, the JX is easier to program, especially with the programmer. So, but even without it, we have the Poly and Play. So the Polyend Play, Polyend was kind enough to send it over to me to check out upon, and I got to be part of the launch of that, which is really cool. It is an incredible interface. And it's sort of like a Hydra synth where you have like these knobs that let you, but like it's very cleverly laid out to where everything just works. And the interface is, I think, a game changer. It's not for me. The problem is the virtual analog in it actually does sound worse than the Clavia Nord lead. So I think I said that the Clavia Nord lead's the worst sounding synth I've had on the channel, but that's not actually true. Well, the virtual analog in the Polyend Play is worse than the Clavia Nord Lead 2 from 1995, which is a shame because it's 30 years younger. But what it is good at is like the granular, the physical modeling's not as good as Steampipe. But the granular stuff, there's some, like when you put it all together, it sounds good. Yeah, if you have a programmer for the Matrix 6, it's incredible. And I'm working on the tutorial for it. I promise it'll come out, guys. It's not for me, though, the Polyend Play. Prophet 12. Oof, this is a tough one. I'm very mixed on the Prophet 12 because the analog distortion is the best I've heard. It's got a great interface. Probably the best interface of any synth on this list. I did one record as Vulture Culture with a gal named Jackie Daggers called Dominion Screams. You can check it out on Spotify, wherever you get music. And so she really worked with me on that album to put the synth together and everything. I had her in the studio 2-3 months ago. We haven't done a record together in 10 years. We're playing all the different synths. We get to the Prophet 12. She's like, this thing sounds so great. And then as we kept playing around with the synths, she started doing this motion, meaning she could hear that the high end is like chopped off because of the anti-aliasing. They wanted to pull the aliasing out of it. Adapt, manipulate. You are so right. You are so right that I love the music that was made with the Nord Lead 2, just like I love the gay anthems made with the Korg M1. There's a difference between, like, the truth is, any synthesizer on this list, except for the VA in the Polyend Play, is good enough, and the Zeo synth sounds good, but they're all good enough. Maybe okay. So the not for me category, I'm conflicted on, but like, you can make great music for it, and yeah. Jason, I think the Polyend Play is, in some sense, one of the greatest synths ever made. I don't know if it'll go down in history that way. It kind of seems to have had like a mid rollout, but I think it's great. Aquatic says Poly 12 has to be at least keep coming back to. Taylor Swift keeps coming back to it. It's her favorite synth. Patrick, why are you conflicted about the Pro 2? Most people prefer the Pro 2 over the 12. Virtual analog culture. The Prophet 12 is a lot like having a virtual analog synth that's very good with analog filters. So like on paper, it should be... I can't put it in spectacular. What did you say? Keep coming back to? I think that's right, Aquatic. I think that's where it belongs. It's above some synths, but it's not spectacular because of that. If those oscillators extended all the way up the way that the Modal 008 does, it would be in spectacular, but it's not quite there yet. So, okay. We'll go with keep coming back to. Proteus MPS plus Orchestral. So this is basically a Proteus 2 because it's got the Orchestral ROM into it. This one's very hard because on a personal kind of nostalgic basis, because Robin Miller, the composer of the original Myst, only used this exact model of keyboard to do the whole soundtrack. So it just sounds like Myst. It's got that vintage, that vibe of early point and click adventure games. Of course, Mark Snow from the X-Files used all of these sounds too. I think it's the sweet spot for the Proteuses in the sense of like, it's got the character, but it's also very clean. I mean, it's 16-bit. Is it spectacular? Is it keep coming back to? Is it hot workhorses? It's not in the Hall of Fame. I can't put it up there with the Matrix 12. That would be insane. The thing is, I'd rank it above the K4. But I'd rank it below the Monopoly. I'd rank it in between spectacular and keep. I do have a little bit of a love-hate with the Prophet 12, but I want to say, Chris, it's a phenomenal synth. Like it's like instant 9-inch nails. Like it's great. And there's a way, like there's also like an effect of like you have to spend time with synth. And I kind of think the Prophet 12 is going to grow on me as time goes on. That's interesting about the phrase Rompler, Lonnie. I'm surprised. I'm certainly not I didn't coin that phrase. Pro 3 is amazing. I'm thinking about putting in spectacular. I think it deserves keep coming back though, if we're being honest. The Alesis Andromeda. Oof. There's nothing stopping it from being in the Hall of Fame, really. I don't like the effects. Matrix 12, none of the synths up there have effects other than the SX240. I'm looking forward to like shooting it out against the Matrix 12. I was hoping to do like a 3-way shootout. Love a good 3-way with the 008, the Andromeda and the Matrix 12, but it looks like this 008 I bought is not going to be repairable, unfortunately. It seems like it should go up there. I haven't had enough time with it, and I haven't, like, does it have the magic in the filters? I think the filters sound great, but do they sound Hall of Fame great? There's some part of me that feels like the Monopoly might have a better sounding filter, or the SH2, or the CS70M. Yep, I've made my decision. Those synths all have incredible filters. The Andromeda, incredible, but it's going in spectacular today. I might change my mind. Who knows? Sequential Prophet 600. This is my definition of a love-hate synth. When we shot it out against the Prophet 12, I thought it sounded better. A little bit, because it doesn't have that, like, limit on the high end. And a heavier drive to the filter. You can make the Prophet 12 sound like it though by just driving the oscillators by like 5 or 10%. Infundibula says the Prophet 12 says better filters than the A16. I don't know. I'm mixed on the like. I think don't get me wrong. Here's the hard thing about doing this list is so many of these synths are incredible. Prophet 12 or Prophet 600 is not in keep coming back to. It's going in. It's going no higher than Fun But Flawed. Let me take a second here. Is it mid? Okay. So, if I was to put it on this list objectively, it would have to be Fun But Flawed. Like, it's got so much going for it. Voltage controlled oscillators, a great analog filter. Just if you're comparing like the waves and the filter, it sounds better than the Prophet 12. But it's got some issues. The envelopes especially. For me, though, it's going in deeply mid. I'm ready to let it go. It's great, but I'd rather have a synth that's more impaired, that doesn't have the hands-on interface, but doesn't piss me the fuck off the way that synth does. It's not worth it. When you're trying to create a pad sound and the release just like goes like that, you can't ever change that. Like but again, kind of like the Nord Lead 2, it's gotta be like when I was reading the book on sequential, The Prophet from Silicon Valley, there's so many famous musicians saying they love the Prophet 600. So, you know, this is kind of a silly list. We have the Kawai K1. It could be up there with the K4. But it shouldn't be on the same tier. It's great. The choirs are great. K4 has a resonant filter, beats it out, built-in effects, all of that. It's going in deeply mid because it, aside from the incredible choirs, it's you know, that's about it for that one. It's got a couple of cool patches, but you know, it's a lot of people seem to say that that they eventually hate the A6, but I don't think I'm going to be one of those people. Adapt Manipulate also says P600 is cool, sounds good, shitty processor. That's the perfect way to say it. I'm going to put the K1 in deeply mid for me, just because aside from the choirs, it's not something to write home about. Polysix. How many people? Oh, this is interesting. Looking at the, I've been ignoring the votes. We'll look at them at the end. See like how everything went. Keith asks, why is SK1 not on this list? Because I haven't played one. These are just the synths I've had on this channel. I've had about 50 synths on the channel. Actually, I guess I've had more because I forgot the Prologue and the DW8000 off this list, which is embarrassing. For me, the Korg Polysix is a Hall of Fame synth. I think it's the best. It's just the best. Now, is it as good as the Polaris? Well, it kind of sounds different than the Polaris. It's good. It just sounds so unique, so warm, so wild. Drum Brute Impact. It's a Hall of Famer for me. I think most people probably know that I think the Poly 6 punches way above its price point. We have the D50. Y'all know how I feel about the D50, right? Greatest sounding digital synth of all time. Behind the Wavestation, the D50 also has some of arguably the best presets ever created by Eric Persing. The draw of the Vulture. The radio voice combined with the male model looks remixed with a satanic flair. Love it. 1349, you know, I've seen this, I think as low as like 12 or 11, you know, 11 and change or something. The Polysix, easy recommendation. Just make sure it's got its battery fixed. D50 is going in the Hall of Fame too. It's the best with the PG 1000. I made sure to get an image with the PG 1000. Without it, it would be, you know, it held back a bit by the fact that it's harder to program without that. But for me, yeah. Kawai K3. Okay. It can't be spectacular. On some level, it's kind of like in that hot workhorse category of Juno 6, Alpha Juno, JX8P, AX60. It's all kind of like in that neighborhood. But this is my personal, not objective list. Objectively, it should be in that category. For me, the K3 is a synth I always keep coming back to because it just sounds different. It's its own thing. It's like a really rat-fucked PPG, you know? Like, it's like really dark. So it's going and keep coming back to. I think it's great. It can't make its way into spectacular. I get that. And was that it? Was that all of them? Oh, we did it. Wow. Okay. So we sort of need to go through and add the DW8000 in the Korg Prologue. So where would I rank those? So the DW8000 Where did the SQ80 go? It's in Spectacular. The DW8000 I would put with the retroactive programmer. It would go in Spectacular for me too, because that's got to be, yeah, that would be the cheapest synth in Spectacular and up for sure. You can get DW8000 so cheap. They sound so fucking good. It's kind of like that Korg Polysix filter sound, but you've got two oscillators that sound really good. They don't fall apart the way the K3's oscillators do. Yeah. So we're gonna pretend that there's a DW8000 right here. And then the Korg Prologue. So we're actually up to 52 cents. This one's really tough. I sold my Prologue to buy a Chroma Polaris, which I would do every day. You know, I think it was worth it. Let's see here. On some level, so this list is so focused on the philosophy of like synths that kind of do one thing really good. Like the SX240, it can do a lot, but it's got like a sound. Polivoks, instantly recognizable sound. I basically only use it for bass lines. Chroma Polaris sounds like nothing else. Matrix 12 goes without saying. Polysix, the furthest from a VST I can think of. The D50, the best sounding digital synthesizer of all time. You know, CS70M, completely unique, different feel from the CS80, much more aggressive, but also just the filter is incredible. SQ80, I mean, like, looking at this tier here, none of these synths are really like, oh, it can do everything. Monopoly is not good at everything. I do not think it sounds good as a poly synth. If you want to step through the waves with the arpeggiator, that's one thing. But it's not like poly synth wise, it's nowhere near even these hot workhorses. Like the Juno 6 sounds better in poly than the Monopoly does sound in polyphonic mode, in my opinion. Dahlia, I agree. So I think the thing is, what was the Alex sold his prolapse to pay rent. Awesome. That's the best autocorrect ever. Let's get a scum cheers right now for selling your prolapse to pay rent. Oh, that's so good. We've made it almost to the end of the list. We're up to the ultimate. The Prologue is the final one, but can I say, how much fun was this? Cheers, guys. Thank you for making this awesome. So, Swords and Synthesizers. Rob asks, what are your top 3 synths missing from the list? We'll jump in on that in a second. I'll answer that question after we figure out where the Prologue goes. So the Prologue's really hard because on some level, it's like the definition of a spectacular synth. Like a synth that, you know, should really hit every note. It doesn't have all of the modulation capabilities of something like a Prophet Rev 2, which would knock it out of the Hall of Fame. Probably knock it out of spectacular. Would it be in the... It kind of feels a lot like the Modal 002, actually. Where it's just not quite spectacular. It probably sounds kind of like Matrix 6 tier. I think I'm putting it in keep coming back. Matrix, or the Prophet 12 probably would beat it out, in my opinion. Prophet 12 can do a few things that the Prologue can't, but that user oscillator is more flexible than the hybrid oscillators in the Prophet 12, so it's kind of in that neighborhood. And it feels like the Prologue or the Alpha Juno, I'd go Prologue. If I had to like buy one or the other. TS10 or Prologue, I'd go Prologue. AX60 or Prologue, I'd not sure. Juno 6 or Prologue, I'd go Prologue. JX8P or Prologue, I might go JX8P. The JX8P is good. Patrick says, top 3 since he hasn't played yet. Jupiter 4, Jupiter 8, Vintage Model D. I played a 4. I've heard an 8, but I didn't want to like bother Brad from Isla Instruments, makers of the SP2400, to like, hey, can I fucking touch your synth? And I've never heard in person a vintage Model D. Moog Source, in theory, the same under the hood, but probably a little different at the end of the day. Buffalo Traces, what's up? It's the old workhorse. Buffalo Trace would be like in the keep coming back to territory over decades. I think the Prologue would go in the keep coming back to category. I think that's fair. So, first, I'm going to read my list from worst, or the worst category to the best, not necessarily in any order within the category. Patrick, I'd go SH2 over the Jupiter 4 all day, every day. That's why I ranked the Jupiter 4 way down here in Fun But Flawed. Yeah, I'd probably go JX8P over the Prologue, but I have a bent towards vintage synths. I recognize the Prologue is kind of like objectively better. But then again, I did sell it, so... Okay, this is my list. It's not flawed like these synths are, where I'd be like, there's something about it. It can be a workhorse. Fine. Okay, so I'm going to start by reading it in reverse order. We'll talk about my top 5. Then we'll go through the 3 synths I'd like to have. And then we'll look at what everybody else voted, because I'm very curious. So, bottom of the list for me, Poly and Play, Zeosynth, Nordlead 2. Really, these 3 are just what I don't love about, virtual analogs. They're just, this synth, the Poly and Play, has stuff to make up for it, like the incredible interface. The effects sound great. The granular engine's awesome. They've added a new sampler engine since I've had it. U20, David Wise used it to do the Donkey Kong Country score. So if it's good enough for David Wise, it should be good enough for me. But just compared to everything else here, I just can't justify it. HC6000, deeply flawed. In the deeply mid category, we have the Kawai K1, love the choirs, everything else. Everybody knows I'm not the biggest fan of the 600, with the caveat that it's probably the best value 2 VCO per voice vintage analog synth. Korg M1, iconic presets. Beyond that, not my favorite. JP8000, probably up there with the MS2000 as far as the best sounding virtual analog. Poly 800, incredible synth, just not as incredible as every other vintage analog synth here. Proteus 2500, incredible. Haven't had the time with it to really develop a love for it. The B1, it's a 303 clone. EX5, really cool synth, preferred the SY99 over it. Ensoniq Mirage, beautiful sounding sampler, really fucking gritty to the point where it doesn't sound that great. Loop points are very hard to set where they don't click. Interface is horrible. MS2000, build quality on these knobs is very cheap. 4 voices is a major issue. Otherwise, think it sounds better than anything else from this era. Jupiter 4, obviously, this has got to be so controversial, that and of course the Nordlead 2, but Jupiter 4 is one of those incredible synths. Depeche Modes just can't get enough, right? But that's kind of all it sounds like to me. Wavestation, what I've said before, like my favorite synthesizer of all time, it just isn't something you can program with any sort of anything to it. Oh, I should definitely check that out, Dub. Yeah, the Mirage programming sucks. I agree. Hexadecimal. Moog Source, great. Not for me. The Moog sample pack I did is everything I've wanted from the Moog Source, and I still have the samples. And I don't have to worry about the tuning. DSS1, incredible sounding sampler. It's a boat, and it's not the worst to program, but it's just not fun to program. Same thing with the K5000S. MS-20, awesome synthesizer that I'm probably ranking too low, but I just don't go to it that often. In a weird way, it could almost go in fun but flawed for me. JX8P, easiest synth to recommend at around $750. I'd get $750 on the JX8P over the Nord Lead 2 for sure. For me anyways. Juno 6, ranked maybe low, but it is very simple. There's very little in it beyond the incredible magic that it is. But it's just a very narrow kind of magic, kind of like the Jupiter 4. Erica Synth Steampipe, incredible at what it does, very narrow. So it's kind of funny. I'm noticing, like, I like narrow, something like the Polivoks, but not too narrow, right? So it's, you know, I'm a princess. I want it all. I want it to be the best at what it does, but also keep me interested, you know? And I think that's where Steampipe, Juno 6, and something like the Jupiter 4 kind of loses me, as they're just too basic. X60 is good. TS10 is good. Wish the programming was easier. Then it might be up in the JD800 tier. ARP Odyssey was really impressive. I just don't love mono synths, but it was really good sounding. Blofeld, really good sounding virtual analog. Alpha Juno, a classic. Very clear sound, very brassy. I'm very curious to see how it compares to the Juno 6. It might move up or down, you know, for me. Lex Dynamic had the 12 in the Prologue and prefers the sound of the Prologue, so there you go. Speaking of which, we're coming into the keep coming back to, so that's going to be the Korg Prologue. We're pretending it's right here, right? XP80 would be a really fun one to check out, Todd. The K3, one of my all-time favorites. Definitely not as, like, objectively good as the DW8000 or the SQ80, but for me, just one of my favorites. I did a review of Talfa, the Alpha Juno. It's an awesome plugin. Never owned a DX7 Armadillo. Proteus, sound of Mist. Prophet 12 is incredible. I just wish the oscillators had a little bit more headroom. Is it the type of thing that anybody but a Swiss? No. I mean, fucking Taylor Swift uses it. Like, how much more do you need to know that it's good enough to sell hit records? Matrix 6, best sounding DCO synth from the 80s, no question. K4, most underrated synth on this list. JX 3P, there's an immediacy to the 3P that the JX10 doesn't have, and it just sounds good. It might sound better than the JX10. It's hard to say. I haven't done the comparison yet. I promise I will. Super JX, though, it might sound as good as the JX 3P, but with 12 voices. It's very good. Modal 002, very controversial for synth on this list. I love the sound. It sounds completely different than everything else I have. It's a ladder filter, like a Moog ladder filter, but 12 voices. And the thing about that is, I don't always love, like the ladder filter on the Andromeda, I'm never using it. It's just too thin when you crank the resonance. That sound on the Jupiter 4, you crank the resonance and it's like the sound is gone. It's just, you just have resonance. IR3109 anyways. 002 like keeps it, and you can morph it to like a one pole ladder filter where it doesn't lose as much low end either. So you have like ways to mitigate that, which is cool. Spectacular. It's not visible, but we've got the DW8000 right here. Best synth I can recommend. It's just so beautiful. I just think that's the synth that made me fall in love with vintage synths, because I had the Korg Prologue and I thought it was good. I was like, it's cool. But it wasn't really giving me a lot that I didn't already have from Omnisphere, if I'm being honest. When you crank the resonance, I was just like, it's fine. It's got a very MS-20 sounding resonance in the Prologue. It's like this kind of dirty, dark sound, which is fine, but I was like, it's like a duller Omnisphere. The DW8000, when you crank the resonance and the way it sings, KJM 2069 filter chip. Just gorgeous. Op6 is a very cool synth. An Op6 SE would be maybe in a weird, the fucking FM synth I would buy. You know, I would love to check out the DW8000 sometime. I know you've got one, Rob. Alesis Andromeda. On paper, should be at the top of the list. I just haven't had the time with it to know in my heart that it sounds as good as the Matrix 12. And for that reason, it's spectacular. Monopoly, spectacular. I mean, it's up there. It's just great. It's just not quite the Polivoks for me, personally. But it's great. JD800, everything you could want from the D50 as far as like, it's just like a Nostromo of a synth. Beautiful. All the knobs and faders. It just doesn't sound quite as warm as the D50 for whatever reason. I wonder if when I actually go through and program it, I can make it sound that way. We'll see. SH2, best sounding lead synth, in my opinion. SQ80, up there with the DW8000. Both of them, it's like, which did you prefer? That's probably, of all the shootout videos I've done, the one that I felt like, this is just up in the air. This is just like personal taste. You can't say one's objectively better than the other. SQ80 has balls. It's got like ferocity. DW8000's a much more feminine, dark, singing sort of resonance. CS70M should be in the Hall of Fame, but it's just shy. It's just got a couple of things that bother me to stop it from being. And I think if it cost like $2,000 or even $5,000, I'd probably be like, yeah, Hall of Fame. But the fact that it costs like $19,000 one sold for this year, it should be perfect, and it's not. D50, greatest digital synth of all time. Wavestation might have it beat out in terms of presets, but when you actually have the BG1000, makes it a blast to program. I had so much fun making sounds for that synth. And I think if you watch my Neon Chronicles video, not just because I made the sounds, but I genuinely think it sounds incredible. So Lex does not like my Nord hatred. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with this. Is just my opinion, right? If you, and maybe I'll change my mind. I've changed my mind on a lot of these synths over the years. Polysix, it's just like an eternal classic to me. Maybe if I ever got the chance to check out a Trident, it might move down on the list because that's just like a 2 VCO version of that. Matrix 12 goes without saying. Just the most powerful analog synth ever made. The Chroma Polaris, my desert island synth, because it's a 2 VCO poly synth that it checks all the boxes, especially that it sounds completely different than everything else too. The one thing you can maybe say about the Polysix is it might be a little too unique sounding. It doesn't sound like anything else, and that might be a negative for a lot of people. That's true, Brett. The longer you spend with the synth, for sure. Polysix over Juno 6. I'm going to do a shootout video in about the next month or so. I'll have that up. Checking out the Polysix and the Juno 6. My bet would be the Polysix sounds better, but we shall see. Voltage controlled oscillators instead of DCOs for no other reason than that. That could do it. Polivoks, just my favorite mono synth. And then the SX240. I mean, it's just such a special sounding synthesizer. So I guess I've really got a top 6 up here. If I had to pull one, it might be the Polysix. I don't know. It's really, on another day, I could see the CS70M being up here. I could see the DW8000 being up here. The Monopoly for sure up there. So it's, that whole spectacular Hall of Fame could be different. So as far as answering Rob's question about what are the top 3 synths that aren't on the list. Prophet VS, top of the list. I want one. They like to die on you. I'm very afraid of that. Adapt. Think that amazing wooden pitch bender stick would be great. Adam Faust. I haven't had a Rev 2 on this channel, so I haven't ranked it. Where it would rank is probably in the hot workhorses category, but I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe I'd like it in the keep coming back to. It's not going to get in that spectacular, I would think. Prophet 12, Yamaha CS70M. I'm sorry. I own one of those. Getting a little fucked up. Let's drink more. It is time to have another scum cheers. I'm finding the path. Thank you guys for hanging out with me tonight and for 20,000 subs. You guys are the greatest of all time. Can I get some scum cheers in that motherfucking chat, motherfucker? Yamaha CS30 sort of seems like the ultimate analog mono synth. It might not beat the Polivoks in terms of attitude problem, but it kind of is like in that MS-20. It might be the synth that is like the MS-20 for me, but more my flavor is my guess. Dolly says just buy a Wavestation. I've got a Wavestation right there. I don't think it's quite that. And then there it is, Patrick. There's my third, the Polyevolver. I want one because when I got the Prophet 12, so most people on this channel said the Prophet 12 over the Polyevolver, but when I got the Prophet 12, and I've got my little gripes about it, which are such minor things, by the way, guys, so minor. I'm the luckiest guy on the planet, right? But Vincent Presley, a couple of other people are like, you're a Polyevolver guy. Madeira, Polyevolver over Prophet 12, because it just has that wide open thing. It's got the Prophet VS waves. It might even potentially be the Prophet VS replacement. I don't know. So those would be the three I'm looking for. You better fix that shit, Todd. Cheers. Okay. I want to see what these other ones look like. So we had 69 people vote with over 1,000 votes here. So the most votes and then the average votes. Wow, this is interesting, like how the average works out. Votes is what we want to look at. Wait, what has happened here? Oh wait, it's tweaked out for a second. Okay, let's go in reverse order. The not for me, the Steampipe ranked low. That's surprising because I don't think Steampipe and Poly and Play should be in the same category, but otherwise looks about right. I love that JP8000 got deeply mid, just because I know of the virtual analog snobbery that is this channel and the people who watch it. So I just love the fucking haters driving that one down. Fun but flawed. K5000's like perfect example of that. Poly 800's a great example of that. K1's a great example of that. I really like how you guys voted. What I was trying to do was not have this range get too stacked up like this, like you guys stacked it up because of like the cumulative voting. But as far as like, if you just read the definitions here, I think this is accurate. Like this is in a way more accurate than what I picked, except Steampipe would be higher ranked for me. Workhorses, yes, yes, yes. I had this one higher, but I understand. Yes, yes, yeah. Oh, I can't believe you guys ranked the JD800 so low. Can someone explain that to me? The Nordlead 2 stream was a lot of fun, Rob. Cumulative. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. If I said it's something else, that's just interesting. Why did you guys rank the JD800 so low? I love this synth. I can't believe you ranked the Chroma Polaris so low. With the Alpha Juno? Are you kidding me? The AX60? This is not the same as the Prophet 600, guys. It might seem like it on paper, but it is not. It just is not. Armadillo, I think for the price, the JD08 is worth it. There's also the plugin, right? Just the Zencore JD800 if you want to just get the plugin. Either way is good to go. This is the most votes. Like, so, because with average vote, I guess nothing made it into the Hall of Fame. See, I don't know. Like, average to me is like, seems like a weird distribution. So I'm just going with most votes because it seems to make more sense. But this should be higher and this should be higher. I understand everything else. I would put this higher, but I understand why it's in that category. Yeah. New V8 too. Yeah. Hypothesis. I think that's exactly what happened. The labels are just a silly thing. I wrote them before the stream, not having any idea how I would actually rank them. I didn't figure it out beforehand. $400 for DW8000. Pull the fucking trigger. Oh, I feel bad that you got discouraged, Aquatic. Yeah, I think the Steampipe is it should at least be in the workhorse category. Keep coming back to, interesting that the ARP Odyssey's ahead of these guys. But I see why with the JXs, the Polivoks. I see Polysix, 8P, K4, Andromeda. This feels right. The SX240 should be higher, I think, but I understand. Kind of like I think the 002 should be higher. I understand why they're in here for a lot of people. Everybody agrees the SH2 is an incredible synth. Matrix 6 is I'm glad to know that everybody else thinks so too, because my perception online was like that people didn't, that the Matrix 6 was thought of as just kind of like a fake Oberheim or something. It's really not. It's a very good sounding synth. D50, glad it's up there. Wavestation, glad it's up there. I understand why I put it lower, which is the nature of having a brain and making choices. Juno 6, in my opinion, guys, like, I get it. It does sound good. It's all sweet spot. It's like a mini Moog in the sense of like, it is very limited to the, I can't give it that because of that limit. But I understand that for what it does, it's the best. Prophet 12, I can see it being spectacular. I might have been a little harsh on it, but I wanted to be honest with you guys. So it probably should be considered spectacular. Moog Source being considered spectacular is surprising to me, because that's another one I would think has kind of a bad reputation. But it is a mini Moog under the hood, so it was a lot of fun, Rob. I hope you guys enjoyed it, because I wasn't sure how this format would be. All I knew was we need to get one more. We need to get one more in here. All I knew was I wanted to do something different for 20,000 subscribers. And I wanted to run 20,000 meters, but right now I'm nursing a knee injury. So that wasn't going to happen. So instead, I thought this would be cool. So can I get a cheers one more time for everybody who's here in the live stream tonight? And for everybody who watches these videos, who can't make it to the live stream, but catches them in the first few days, I greatly, greatly appreciate you. I will never be able to thank you guys enough. I won't. There's no way. I can say thank you every stream, and I try to, but I will not be able to tell you guys how you've changed my life. So for that, thank you very much. Let's get a motherfucking scum cheers in the fucking chat. Moog Source spectacular. It's fucking wild, guys. What the fuck am I looking at here? The SY99 in the Hall of Fame? I just blacked out and came to and see that that's there. That's so intense. What was the thought process? I mean, I get it. It's like it's one of those things, like on paper, it's the Alesis Andromeda of digital synths. It's the last 6-operator FM synth for 25 years from Yamaha until like the montages. plus all of the Rompler, plus it's got the great effects that apparently the SY77 doesn't quite have. Yeah, shout outs to Vulture Mom for making me. Without her having sex, I wouldn't be here right now. So can I get a scum cheers for my mom? I appreciate you, Mom, for supporting me. Not everybody's so lucky to have such a great mom as you. So cheers, Mom. I love you. It's very surprising the SY99's up there, but that's okay. You know what's funny is looking at the ranking here, I mean, people loved it. Even like a lot of people were like, can't rank it below, keep coming back to you. So, of course, the CS70M and the Oberon Matrix 12 are up here at the top, but I have to say, I just knew I couldn't put the CS70M in the utmost tier because of the fact that I can't spit out a decent vibrato. It's crazy to me. It doesn't quite do what it should, but it is beautiful. So, and then, you know, the JP4, I think we've talked about it enough. Let's just scroll through just the average votes real quick, just to see if there's anything, because this is interesting. I don't know if this just like kind of averages the amount out. It might not be as effective at like the actual, like what category it ended up in, but it might be a better like just overall list of these two at the bottom. Makes sense. It's funny because if you average it out this way, the K4 is in fun but flawed, which just by the K1, which feels fucked up. Yeah, so I think this is a better way to say like what's the general ranking, and the Kawai SX240 should be way higher, but I kind of understand everything in this category. And then I guess there's really only these are the two Hall of Famers. And I get why the monopoly is. It's kind of the same reason it was like the first legendary synth. It doesn't strive to be everything, but what it strives to do, it nails, unlike anything else. So I still get that. Jerome says, despite the flaws, the 70M belongs there. I mean, it does. I don't think I can ever sell it. Like, it's so great in terms of the sound. I just, you know, I'm not trying to be Yuki the Synth Dragon here as far as like being really nitpicky about synths. Shout outs to Yuki. Or is it Yuri? Oh God, I'm so ashamed of myself. I'm fucking up their name. I love their channel too. Ugh. Deep. That's the worst part about doing things live is like you can't edit that out, but here it is. So I love their channel, so I don't know why I'm doing that. Portamento on the 70M. No, it has glissando like the CS80, and it can do like its LFO can be put into a mode just like on the 80. Well, it's different than the 80, but the same type of thing where it's like an auto bend. But I don't think it has traditional portamento. But I also honestly feel like it might. I just don't remember. Robert M., I agree. I think the SX240, as far as like a synth that can do everything, I think the SX240 is pretty high up there. Yeah, the 4 oscillator analog mono. Yeah, so I mean, I just don't see the Juno 6 ranking as high as it did, but I get why it did. It's okay. I mean, that's a fun thing about synths. There are objective things. No one's going to tell me the Nord Lead 2 sounds as good as the Juno 6. You know, just in terms of the raw filter, right? I think it could be a better synth when you take it in totality, like what it can do that the Juno 6 can't. But you're not going to tell me that filter sounds better. Now, if I had thought about it, hypothesis of trying to play as many of these synths as I could, but we've already gone later than I normally go. And I just thought there's no way we'll be able to talk about all of them. So Real quick, before I go, I want to ask you guys, what synth do you think I missed? Or let me, Swords and Synthesizers asked me, what are the top 3 synths that I wish were on the list? So for me, it's the Yamaha CS30, Prophet VS, and the Poly Evolver. Modal 008 as well would be on there for a bonus, which I actually bought one, but it's broken. Oh my God. The Nord bashing continues. Right price for the TS12. The Cleveland Steampipe. What synth do you guys think I should check out next? Like, you know, if I could spend, it's not going to be a Jupiter 8 or a CS80, right? Because they're just too expensive. But if I get a chance to buy another synth, what should I get? Or get one on loan? Like, what would be your recommendation that I haven't done on the channel yet? So, any of these 50 synths, plus the Prologue, plus the DW8000 I've already covered. I'd really like to check out the ASQ1 and the DW6000, to be honest with you guys. DX7, of course. Any your range, but I have a preference for, like, if a synth is still being made, I feel like you can't say it stood the test of time, necessarily. Hypothesis. That's the K2000 right there on loan from Swords and Synthesizers. Evan Price. Korg Prologue, I've done a lot of videos on. I have a playlist on my channel, actually. You should go check out. Prophet 2000, I'd like to check out. Pro 1, I thought about getting I was going to buy one, and the members of this channel voted to go against it. The Korg ARP 2600. V-Synth or a Fismo. I'd love to check out both of those. There was a V-Synth down near where I live, and I was going to get it, but I mean, it's so hard to keep buying synths. Robert seconds the V-Synth. I'd love to check out the Fismo and just see how it compares with like the TS. I'd love to get my hands on a Poly Moog. Vincent never will let go of them. Presley will never let go of his. Krumar Spirit's an interesting one too, for sure. I think the problem with the Fismo is it just like, my impression of it is that it doesn't feel finished. Lonnie would loan me her DX7. I would love to check out the XB80. That's sort of like the Mac Daddy Rompler from Roland. Oasis, that's a good one. I haven't really done too much with that. Yeah. Prophet X would be very cool, but I don't think it would be hard for that one to win me over, just because I know it's got some problems, and it's very Omnisphere adjacent. I feel like it's the ultimate Omnisphere controller, but I don't know if I would. I don't know. I really want an Emax. The only reason I was thinking about actually selling my Akais and just getting an Emax and getting a programmer for it. But the one thing you can do with an S900 and an Akai AX60 that you can't on an Emax is filter frequency modulation from an analog oscillator. Yeah. I gotta join the cult of K2000. I would love to check out a Hydrasynth Adapt. So, Chris, that's a good question. I think Sonicware's stuff might be better than people give it credit for. That's my impression. Moog Muse would be amazing to check out on this channel, but I don't think Moog is ever going to send me one of their synths. I think I've just said too much negative about their brand. I think the Moog Matriarch is the sweet spot for Moog. Personally, I think that's where it's the best, like, hotness to price ratio. More interesting to me than the Muse, but again, if you just want one synth that's like the best analog synth, I understand why people go with the Muse. Voyager is another good one. I know Carl is a huge fan. Evan Price. I would love a Waldorf Wave. Talk about like the greatest, but yeah, 300 ever made. No way. Quadra would be interesting, although I think you're better off with an Omni and an Odyssey. Lex, I should have an Iridium hopefully in the studio soon, actually, from my friends who own a music store down here. Once I'm Once I've given Rob his synths back, they want to lend me an Iridium and some other stuff maybe. Electribe, that would be a cool one. That would be a cool one. Used on the Metroid Prime soundtrack. Oh, Lonnie, I'm sorry I fucked that up. My apologies. It's so fucking hard with just seeing like a screen name trying to grab what someone's gender is. So I apologize for that. Sorry. I'd love to have either like a Virus A twos, which by the way, welcome twos, or like a TI2, like one or the other, like the beginning or the end, you know. 808 Sequential Pro 2. I appreciate your kindness, Lonnie. Waldorf Core is interesting too. All right, I think we have reached the end of the stream. Thank you guys for the suggestions. And again, thank you for 20,000 subscribers. What a journey it's been for me. And hopefully you guys have had some fun along the way too. So continue to be excellent, guys. I'll see you next week, and we'll have a real ass fucking synth next week. It won't just be a list. So, love you guys. Bye.